Order, all rise. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Before we do a roll call, we have one statement. In accordance with 940 CMR 2910, adopted by the Greater Lowell Tech School Committee on April 17, 2014, Committeeman LeMay will be participating at tonight's meeting remotely due to geographic distance. So now we'll have a roll call. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Hare?
Here.
Mr. Espinola?
Here.
Mr. Booton?
Here.
Mr. LeMay?
Here.
Mr. Morin?
Here.
Mr. Tatseos?
Here.
Mr. Gigi?
Here.
Mr. Bahu?
Here. Mr. Tatseos, has anybody signed up for a public appearance?
No, Mr. Chairman, nobody signed.
Okay, no one signed up to speak. School committee communications, does anybody have any? Okay, moving right on. Report of our student representative. Our student representative is participating in Skills USA today. So what she did was she left us a report of the organization and clubs, athletics, and all that the students do here at Greater Lowell Tech. So please read it when you get home, so that we can attend some of the events.
Could I just make a suggestion, have the secretary make a copy and send it to us?
Got it right here. Right there, Joe.
Okay, we got it, all right, thank you. Thank you.
Yep, we all have a copy. Thank you, Mr. O'Hare. Okay, and if nobody disagrees, I'd like to go ahead and take our new business out of order and put it at this part of the meeting. So could we take a vote to take that out of order? Okay, show of hands. Everybody says it's okay to take it out of order. So what we're going to do is we're gonna set up our annual reorganization of committee and election of officers to take effect on April 1st, 2016. Yes, and the,
Just saying goodbye, Mr. Chairman.
yes, well, you never know. Maybe people will vote for me today. So anyway, with that being the case, I'm going to open up nominations for our new chairman. Would anybody like to nominate a new chairman? Mr. O'Hare?
Nominate Ray Booton.
Okay, Mr. O'Hare nominates Ray Booton. Could I have a second on that? Second by Mr. Tatseos. Any other nominations? Okay, nominations are
Just have a little piece of discussion.
okay, nominations are closed.
I've spoke to a few people on the board. I think I've got to everybody. I'm a little concerned with having a chairperson that is from the same city. This will be the third consecutive years. Staying in tune with, equal proportionality here, like the city of Lowell has brought up to us with one man, one vote. I think that it would have been my pleasure or my will that we could have had a town person to be the next chairperson. And I had spoke to Mr. Booton about this. And that's just my opinion. I'd like to get this in, just because I think that the towns are starting to take a little step back, it seems to me, in the last 2 years. And I would like to see that responsibilities get shared in a fair manner. So that's what I wish that would happen, but it's Mr. Booton is the nominee of the chair people, and I tried to ask people and to get somebody from the town, and it wasn't a will of anybody that wanted to do it yet. So I just wanted to make my personal opinion, and again, it's not personality. It's I think that 3 years in a row for one district, even if it was Dracut, even if it was Tyngsboro, Dunstable, I think that things start to get skewed, and I think we should try to do something about that.
Okay, Mr. Espinola, we thank you for that, for that input. I'm sorry, Mr. Tatseos, would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, I being from Tyngsboro, you know, non-Lowell,
Town.
I also feel as though that this one man, one vote thing was pushed down our throats. But I also feel as though this committee as a whole works as a whole. When we represent our own district, you know, or town or city in the district, we also work as a whole. When I feel as though I take a vote, it is for every student in this school, whether they're from Lowell, Tyngsboro, Dunstable, or Dracut. So having 3 people in a row from Lowell I don't feel that affects us adversely. I think that we've worked together as a unit. And, but I do share your concern about that, but instead of, going with that, attitude, I think the way we have worked is the best way as a unit. And
What I'm basing my thoughts on are the people that I talk to in my communities. They don't know anything about this yet. But people in Dracut feel like they're slighted when it comes to proportionality of the fees that they have to pay. They pay an extraordinarily larger portion per student. And I hear these people in my district saying these things. So I think in everything as a whole, we should start to think more of equality throughout the districts. That's all I'm saying. I know we work together as a whole.
Right,
We
and-
do work well together.
and I agree with that. But
Okay, well, thank you for your input. I think that's something that we should all consider as years progress or as the time progress. It seems like there's only one nominee for this particular position right now. So let's all take it under advisement and begin to start to focus on working with the towns and the cities to have cheer people be in maybe a little different order, so that it doesn't come up that, 3 successive chairmen would be all from the same towns or city. So we'll take that under advisement. Mr. Gigi?
So traditionally, on the board, since I'm relatively new, does it go from chair to vice chair, then they move up? Is there a tradition that's been established?
Traditionally, that's how it has happened, but there has been some shakeup of it as, in the past number of years. Mr. O'Hare?
I was just gonna say the same thing that traditionally it was, city, town, city, town. And that existed for the longest period of time, and not to mention any names, but it was a member of your community that voted to change it. And that's how the progression of people getting elected as chairman, vice chairman, or secretary took place. And incidentally, they were good people, but I'm just to your concern that 2 people from the city or 2 people from a town were back to back. That was made by, that tradition came in with members of the committee, no other reason. So it's unfortunate.
Back to back's fine. This
Yeah.
is back to back to back.
Well, yeah, I know, but
And there could be a change of the makeup of this board.
it was much easier, when it was city, town, I thought it was that much easier. But anyway, it did take place.
There could be a change in makeup of this board, and it could be another Lowell person next year.
Okay, we're gonna pass out the ballots right now. Okay, if everybody could go ahead and vote for who they think. There's been one person nominated, which has been Ray Booton, seconded by motion by Mr. O'Hare, seconded by Mr. Tatseos. Okay, just pass them all back to our secretary if you can.
George!
Jill has some good news.
Okay, all the votes have been handed into the secretary. Now, considering that Mr. Lemay is participating remotely, we're going to ask him to voice his choice for chairman of the Greater Lowell Tech this upcoming April. Mr. Lemay?
Yes, I would like to cast my vote to Raymond Booton.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Goslin, if you could go ahead and fill that out and initialize it for Mr. Lemay. Okay.
Okay.
The first time I've ever.
1, 2,
That's been good.
7 for Mr. Booton, 1 for Mr. Tatseos.
Runner up. Thanks, George.
Okay.
I'd just like to thank everybody. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, nominations are open for vice chairman. I'd like to nominate a school committee person from Dracut, Mr. Paul Morin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lemay. Okay. Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. Okay, we can pass out the ballots, please.
Whoops. I'm right under you, George.
Okay, we're filling out the ballots right now. We're waiting to have them handed in. Okay, I'll hand them in. Thank you. Okay, all the ballots have been handed in. Mr. Lemay, considering you're participating remotely, could you please voice your choice for the vice chairman?
Yes, I would like to cast my vote for vice chairman to Paul E. Morin.
Okay, wonderful. You remembered the E. Thank you. If we could have a vote count, please.
Polly Morin.
8 votes for Mr. Morin.
8 votes for Mr. Moore.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Chairman.
And I'd like to open up nominations for our secretary.
At this time, I'd like to nominate Joe Espinola from the town of Dracut, an esteemed committee member for the
Okay,
position.
Mr. Gigi,
Second.
okay, nominates Mr. Espinola, seconded by Mr. Morin. Thank you, Mr. Lemay. Okay, if we could pass out the ballots, please.
The nominations are closed.
Nominations are closed.
You want it as Joseph?
Do we know his middle initial? If any of us do, I'm sure it would be Mr. Lemay.
Joey.
So, Mr. Lemay, all ballots are being handed in. If you could kindly voice your choice for our secretary?
No.
Yes, I'd like to cast my vote for Joseph Espinola.
Okay, Joseph Espinola it is. Okay, if we could go ahead and have a vote count, please.
What were the numbers? No, I'm only joking.
7 for Mr. Espinola and 1 for Mr. Tatseos.
Okay,
Congratulations.
congratulations, Mr. Espinola.
George, you came in second twice.
It wasn't me, it was him.
I know.
My birthday. Anyway, that's another story. Okay, congratulations, Mr. Espinola.
Congratulations.
Okay, now back to our original agenda.
The only thing you lost on was your suggestion. The towns don't go back to back.
Okay, if we could have the approval of minutes. If we could have the approval of minutes, February 11, 2016, motion by Mr. O'Hare, seconded by Mr. Tatseos.
Congratulations.
Roll call?
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Espinola?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Morin?
Yes.
Mr. Tatseos?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Okay, report, an approval of our warrants of $3,203,124.53.
Move to waive the reading, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Moore, motion moved to waive the reading, second by Mr. Booton.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Espinola?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Morin?
Yes.
Mr. Tatseos?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Okay, so, a motion to approve the expenditures of $3,203,124.53. Motion by Mr. Morin, second by Mr. Tatseos. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Espinola?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Morin? Yes. Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Okay, there is no report of our general counsel this evening. And what's next is the report of our superintendent director. So I hand the meeting over to you, Mr. Bourgeois.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Before I begin my report, I just wanted to add another item to it. As you saw on the tour earlier, there's over 900 kids participating from 6 different regional vocational schools in a Skills USA district competition. And I was just informed a few minutes ago that of the 192 Greater Lowell participants, 50 of them have won medals tonight.
My
Yeah,
Lord.
really exciting. And one of them was voted to go to become a state officer as well.
Excellent.
So, yeah, really, kids are doing great. Advisors are awesome. Really great event, yeah, really
It's
great
exciting
event.
times for here at Greater Lowell Tech.
It really is. First item on my report is, as you may recall, when we were working on developing my evaluation instrument, one of the things that was a goal for me to achieve was to have a municipal event. I guess resurrect what used to be a municipal dinner, some sort of a municipal event. So what I was looking for was a little bit of direction, but I think what's happened is we're gonna have a municipal event with the construction project dedication. That municipal event is going to include everybody that would have been invited to a municipal event, plus a few other folks, beyond that, right? So, if it's okay with everybody here, I think it would be smart to substitute that as our municipal event for the year. We will have a luncheon or a dinner as part of that. I think it would be awful hard to get folks to come, the same folks to come to an event probably a couple weeks apart. And it would be somewhat redundant because we're gonna be, the municipal event, we would have been going over, the construction project would have been most of the presentation for that night. So if it's okay with everybody, we'll make that the municipal event for this year. And then we'll look at late October-ish, November for a municipal event for next year. Move it to the front part of the year rather than the end of the year. It ended up the end of the year this year because we didn't do my evaluation until October, November, right? So that's how it ended up at the end. But that way it'll be at the beginning of the year when things aren't as busy and hopefully more people will be able to make it. So if that's okay with everybody, that's what we'll plan on doing.
Okay, I think that's a great, recommendation, considering we have, the event of our ribbon cutting of the new building project, happening, and we have so many of our leaders coming through the school anyway.
Okay, the second item is just your approval. We've put together a tentative school committee meeting schedule for next year. It's in your packet, and we're just looking for you to approve that, so we can make it part of the
Motion to
calendar.
approve by Mr. O'Hare, seconded by Mr. Tatseos for the school committee meeting schedule of 2016, 2017. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Espinola?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Morin?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
And the next item on my report is the co-op report, and I think it's important to note that we've got 3% more of our seniors, 37% of the senior class over last year. We only had 34% out, so we've increased by 3. And our juniors now are eligible to go out, and we've increased by 5%. Last year, we only had 2% out at this time. This year, we have 7. So our numbers are trending upward, and we're very happy about that. Next item on my agenda, just wanted to make you aware that we're entering into a partnership with a new nonprofit that's recently been formed. It's a gentleman, Jim Smith, has put together a nonprofit called All Things Homeless. And what he's doing is he's a computer programmer. And I've known him for many years. He worked at different schools teaching and also as technology director. And he's taken it upon himself to put together a program to teach disadvantaged populations how to become computer programmers. And he's focused on, he said, it's not just homeless people, but homeless people is one of the disadvantaged populations, veterans, anybody with a disability. So he's looking, right now, he's looking to get a cohort of about 8 to 10 students for the first cohort to see whether or not this program that he put together is going to work. He thinks in 6 months he can train them to a level that they can get a job as a computer programmer. So what he came to me and asked was whether or not we would be willing to work with him to validate that the training they got met a certain level, and that we would, through our adult ed, offer the student a certificate of completion. So that to get a certificate of completion from Greater Lowell Tech, if he gives them a certificate of completion from All Things Homeless, it's not going to be of any meaning. So we would be a third-party validator and offer the certificate. It wouldn't cost us any money. I've got one of the teachers that's willing to volunteer to help out. So he would go and look at the products and the projects that the kids have done, the students have done, to make sure that they reach a level that we would issue them a certificate. So they get the same certificate as if they did one of the night school classes here. He's investing his money. He's not making, this is a nonprofit. He's not making any money. He's doing this out of the goodness of his heart at this stage in his life. He's actually, I think he said he was paying $500 a month just for the servers to house this program. He's got a few corporate sponsors, I think, that are working with him, and it's very promising. If it works and it can scale up, it could help a lot of people get some pretty good paying jobs. So I just wanted to make you aware that was going on. You may see an ad in I know he did a press release that he sent out. I don't think it's appeared in any place, but it would say something to the effect, All Things Homeless in partnership with Greater Lowell Technical High School, offering free computer programming to disadvantaged populations. The person who might take this course would need to have a sponsoring agency, like Community Teamwork would have to sponsor them, or the Lazarus House would have to sponsor them, something like, or the VA would have to sponsor them. And by being a sponsor, what you're doing is guaranteeing that you're going to support them, give them access to a computer. They have to be able to get online. It's all done in the cloud, so they don't have to go to any classes. They just have to be able to get at a computer, and that's what the sponsoring agency would do, is make sure that they're getting to the computer, make sure that they're getting on it from at least 4 hours every day while the course is in session, that type of thing. So it's a new idea that he had. He came to see me and asked me if we could help, and anything we can do to help turn people's lives around is what we do. So.
So is the sending agency going to pay us for the service?
No.
Or is the person or persons that are going to participate in this program, what is their physical tie with the school?
We're in partnership with him just to validate the results and offer the certificate of completion. It will not cost us anything.
Yeah.
And it will not cost the disadvantaged person who's taking it, will not pay a penny for the training. It's free training. They have to be accepted by him into the program.
So they have their own computers, et cetera. We're not going to loan computers.
No. That's what the sponsoring agency is going to make sure. They may end up going to a library to do it, but the sponsoring agency is going to make sure they have the tools available, and they're going to also be checking in on them to make sure that they're doing the work. So it's going to be kind of a partnership, us as the validating agency and the certificate issuer, him doing the training. The lessons are by Skype. So he does have a lesson every day that they tune in, but they're watching him on Skype, or they're interacting with him on Skype. And then there's practice work that they have to do on the computer. And then the partnership with the nonprofit agency, the social agency as well. So it's kind of a three-way partnership to try and help people who really, don't have a leg up on life. I mean, he's looking to help the most disadvantaged people that he can find.
Mr. Tatseos?
I'm not quite sure how we are gonna validate.
Yeah, so I can explain this maybe I use an example that I did in the past, right? So when I was at Shawshene Tech, we got involved, the Billerica House of Correction asked us to help out. They wanted to create a culinary arts program so that when inmates would finish the culinary arts program, and they got out of prison, they would then be able to find a job, right? So that they wouldn't end up back in prison because they didn't have a job, right? So and they didn't know how to teach culinary arts. So I got a hold of a teacher that wanted to help out. She's actually over at Skills USA. I just saw her a little while ago. And we helped them develop their program. They were building a new building. In the new building, they built a kitchen. Okay, so we helped them, and we helped them train the teacher and everything. And then what the teacher would do is at the end of each class would go over and do an assessment with the students to make sure that they had learned everything that they were supposed to learn. Because what they were asking from us is, could you give them a certificate from Shawsheen that they graduated in culinary arts, 300 hours from Shawsheen Tech? Because quite frankly, if they ended up at a job interview and they had a certificate from the Billerica House of Correction, it might not help them get the job as much, right? So that's what we were. We were the validating agency, and we were also the certificate giver. And that's his problem, is that he doesn't have any, All Things Homeless is a nonprofit. If he gives a certificate that you did a computer program, nobody's gonna recognize that as a value. If we give it, and I'm not just gonna give it, we've got a teacher who's willing to go out and also assess the students to make sure they have the skills, so that our certificate does have meaning. They completed the program and they have the skills. And this is gonna be a project-based course, so there is going to be a computer program developed by the students. So when our teacher goes out to validate, he'll be able to take a look at what they did, and then he'll be able to tell whether or not they've accomplished. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, we wouldn't offer the certificate without the opportunity to validate that it's of meaning. That by us giving the certificate validates that they not only took the course, but they also reached a certain level of proficiency in that.
Okay, Mr. Morin?
I have a couple of, just through the chair, through the superintendent, that I wrote a course description many years ago in culinary, and we did the same thing here at Greater Lowell. That was asked of that other technical school. Some years later, they transported adults from Billerica House, and they learned culinary. There was a couple of other areas involved also. And on the homeless partnership, I also think there was something set up through unemployment as a sponsor. You're unemployed, you're collecting checks, but they want you to, go out and look for jobs, or they say, there's this opportunity, in order for you to continue to receive checks, you have to prove to us that you're in a program. And then in the end, when you get your certificate and so forth, but it's part of, we did that here at Greater Lowell.
Yep.
There was banking, and there was
Same type
another
of
program
program.
that
So this
was
is
set up
already-
through, partly through the unemployment.
So I actually got an email today from Jim, because he's out meeting with the social agencies, recruiting the first cohort, and he met with somebody from the VA. And the person from the VA got very excited about the program, and he's now setting up a meeting because when he told them that he was in partnership with us, then the VA realized that we offer a lot of other things besides that. And we also do the manufacturing program and the electronics program through Middlesex Community College and the Career Center, where we're taking underemployed and either chronically underemployed or chronically unemployed adults. And we're training them over a 3 to 6 month period for good jobs. So long story short, he's setting up a meeting for me to go over and meet with the VA people too, to see how.
I like the idea of what they're doing online. Many years ago, when we did the partnership with Billerica, they actually came to the school and were in the culinary area with our kids, and it was a constant watch of, because now they start.
Yeah, he's
they
not
start
asking.
mingling with the kids.
He's not asking to use the facility at all. He's not asking us to do anything except just partnership with him to validate and us issue the certificate in conjunction with them.
Okay. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. I
Just a
think
little
it is.
follow-up, I'm missing something here, that the student is not gonna come into Greater Lowell. Our teacher is not gonna go to the jail or wherever the agency is. But, so what is that connection? Are they just gonna send papers back and forth to see if?
Well, the teacher will be in contact with them. They're developing a relationship. They're actually gonna meet, and
Okay,
Jim's
that
gonna
means
share the
that
program with the teacher. He's gonna bring the teacher up to speed to what he's doing and how
Yeah.
he's doing it. But then at the end of the program, our teacher will go out and assess the work products of the students that were generated through.
Okay, they're gonna go out where, to the jail or to the agency or?
Well, actually, it's all done online, so actually, he'll be able to sit down with Jim and go over the products online of the students. They'll have submitted so if they develop, let's say they developed a software, so what they're gonna be doing is solving a problem. So they'll say, okay, XYZ school system needs a biographical software package, right? It needs to do all these things. It needs to track attendance, it needs to track what classes they're in, and the student in the class, as they learn, are gonna have to develop that software. That might be one project for them. Someone else will be doing another project, maybe to solve, tracking accounts payable, financial software for a business. So what our teacher will do is sit down with Jim, and he'll have the work from all of the end products of the work, and they'll be able to go in and see how it works. And he'll basically just validate that, okay, if they were able to produce this product, then they have the skills that they deserve a certificate and they should be employable. That's how it's gonna work. So, okay.
Terrific, thank you.
Also, I know I sent you emails, but I just wanted to just mention that,
Roger?
yes, Curtis.
Can I just chime in relative to having worked at the Sheriff's Department for almost 34 years? That program, I think, is in its 10th year. I think that building opened in 2006, and we've had some very good luck out of that program. I know the sheriff is very pleased. We've had big sponsors, I believe Roger Berkowitz, Legal Seafoods. We've had people that have passed that course and gone on to, to get themselves a good job, and they've done yeoman's work by that program. I just wanted to put in my 2 cents there.
Well, thank you. And what's the name of the teacher in that program, Curtis?
His last name is Bourgeois.
Yeah, Billie Bourgeois. No relation. Absolutely no relation. First time I ever met him. He was a 20-year officer, just like Curtis at the prison. And but he had graduated in Culinary Institute of America, but never went to work as a chef. But he had a culinary background. So he was the hand-picked guard that we worked with to get him licensed as a teacher, and that Meg Costello worked with to teach him how to teach and set up the program. But yeah, it's a tremendously successful program. Thank you very much.
And his assistant is Bob Michella, and both of them, as well as the other staff there. I know Paul Morin. We have a student that works there, Paul Sullivan. I know he also does a great job for us. So. Thank you.
And that's the same type of program that we're looking to do with all things homeless, and it's the same type of thing that I'm going to be talking to the VA people about if we can help. And it's the same type of thing we do with the community college grant and with the Career Center. We're primarily about the 2,187 high school kids that come to school here every day, but what we can do in the evening, or what we can do in these partnerships to try and help chronically unemployed or underemployed adults, we're going to do. It's also part of our mission. So thank you for your support. So last week, or a week before last, we were notified, we had applied for a capital skills grant. It's kind of ironic because the governor had made that announcement, and then Curtis had the motion last meeting for us to get ready and start to take a look at what our needs were. But at the time, we had already applied for an existing grant. There was $9.3 million being awarded. The most you could apply for was $500,000. And we put together a proposal in our machine shop. We had already, over the last 10 years, we had brought in 11 CNC machines. But we still had over 30 machines that were manual machines that hadn't been replaced yet. The machines are, $37,000 each, right? So we had 11. It was about 30% of the shop had been converted to a modern shop, right? So we wrote a proposal to bring in 14 more machines. So I think it was 5 mini mills and 9 CNC tool room lathes. And we were very happy to get notice that we were awarded that grant. So we're gonna get almost 385,000. I just signed the contract yesterday from the state to rejuvenate that shop. Now you're gonna see some transfers coming across here because we had to pick up the wiring costs. There's some wires that have some asbestos that have to be removed. There's gonna be some abatement, but we have money, Billie, Joe, and I have money that's left over at the end of the year from some accounts that didn't get fully spent. So probably next meeting, you'll probably see some transfers to be able to help set that up. That was our in-kind contribution. We only asked them to give us the equipment. we were gonna do the in-kind piece, that was gonna be our part of it. So we were thrilled. We went to the State House, the governor, the lieutenant governor, we brought 2 students, both sophomores with us, along with, Brian Cornelia from the shop, one of the teachers, and Don Ducharme went. We got our picture taken and they gave us the award. But they gave out 9.3 million, so there were quite a few. They had about 64, I believe, applicants, and I think they gave out 35 grand, anywhere from 80,000 to some schools got the full 500,000. We did the numbers, it come out to 393, that's what we asked for.
Wow.
493, I'm sorry, yeah.
Very close to 500,000.
We were very excited.
Okay, Mr. O'Hare? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Moore.
Quick question was, when we're going to transfer over the old to the new, are we going to be doing the floor in between that, or?
Yeah, no, we've got a plan. We're gonna take so once we know when the new machines are coming, we're gonna have our electrician disconnect them. The company that brings in the new machines also takes out the old machines as part of the contract. And then once the new machines are in, we're gonna bring in an outside contractor we're now gonna wire them from overhead. Right now, they're wired from underneath. And then we're gonna wire them from overhead. That should all be done, probably in the month of June. And then, once it's all completed, everyone leaves for the summer, and then we're gonna bring in the abatement crew to seal off the area, and they're gonna do the wire removal from the underground stuff, and that'll be disconnected.
No, I meant, so we've talked about the blocks and the floor.
Yeah, if and when we get to changing those blocks, what we'll do is we'll probably leave the blocks under the machines and we'll just concrete around them. That's the idea, because some of these
All right,
machines
okay.
are.
I thought
Yeah.
we're gonna take them out.
You know,
Get out of
in a
there.
perfect world, but they're gonna cut, I mean, the kids have to use them up until we get close to the end of the year. And then we're gonna have them come in, get them wired, yeah. So it would be hard to would have to empty it for quite a bit of time. And the grant requires this all to be completed by June 30th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a June 30th deadline, I didn't mention that, yeah, to have it done by. Yeah, the abatement can happen after, but we wanna have them all wired by June 30th, up and running. So next year, we're gonna have 80% of that shop, now modern CNC machines. And even though even though all this money is going to the machine shop, it's also helping the other shops from this perspective. Now, like for instance, the Perkins grant this year, we're buying 2 CNC machines, right? So we're getting these 14 plus the 2 out of Perkins. But now that they're gonna be in pretty good shape, it'll free up money that we're not gonna have to be buying 1 or 2 machines every year to try and get them up to date. That frees up money for other people to be able to have. So it benefits the budget in general, the capital budget in general. So we were really, really grateful and really happy that we were able to receive that, and really excited about it.
Let's give it up for Charlie Baker.
Yeah.
Great job.
And the last thing on my list is that I just wanted to just make, again, like, I wanted you to be aware of the All Things Homeless Initiative and what we were doing. Also, I was approached by the parent organization. Butch Dion's here. Butch Dion's actually, he's a parent of a student besides being a teacher here. He had one of our students, his son graduated last year.
Correct.
He has a daughter here currently.
No, son's currently.
He has a son here currently. So one graduated last year, one's here currently, and I met the 8th grader who's coming here next year. She was helping out in the snack shack the other
Yeah,
night.
she
So,
was.
so, and Butch is also a graduate of our school.
Yes, I
So I just wanted to make you aware, this is at a very early stage, but the parent organization, which was formed a couple years ago, and they have a craft fair. They raise about $3,000 for our kids for help out with T-shirts and sweatshirts for the clubs and anything that the activities might need. They also do scholarships. They've resurrected the snack shack for the gym, and they've also worked the football field a few times. So they've made, I think they made a couple thousand on the snack shack.
Yeah, it
and
was
the gym this year.
$2,500 in the
So
snack shack
they're
this
doing
year.
some good things, and that money's all going, the kids, the clubs and the athletic teams can make requests of them if they have a need. So that they can then donate the money to help them with whether it's a trip they want to do or they want to do sweatshirts or whatever they want to do. So they've been great. But one of the things that they've just started talking about possibly doing is starting a fundraising effort to raise money to put a turf football field in with new bleachers and with lights.
Right.
So I think it's about a $2.6 million undertaking if they were able to raise that kind of money.
Correct.
But they're just at the initial stages of trying to do it. They did approach the charity foundation, the golf tournament supports, and they asked them if they would be willing to accept donations, because some of the organizations that may donate to this, won't donate to a school, but they will donate to a foundation because of the tax status, okay? So I don't know where it's gonna go or how much they're gonna raise, but I just wanted to make you aware, I didn't want you to hear it on the street that there was something going on and not know what it was, so I don't know if Butch wants to add anything to that.
Yeah, it's been the parent, we started coming to the end of our third year. So it was something that was brought up 2 years ago when we first got going, and we figured baby steps first. And then we approached Mark White about it. And then Mark's like, we gotta talk to Roger, and the whole thing kind of ballooned from there. So the initial thing is partnering with the foundation, because like Roger just said, the donation dollars that are out there has to go through a foundation, and our foundation is geared by the bylaws that this can happen anyways, because it's not just for scholarship, it's for other things in the foundation bylaws. So with that being said, the parent group, our first initial thing is we're doing a $100 raffle ticket to raise about $20,000, and once those tickets are all sold, we'll do the raffle, and that will be hopefully the first initial big donation to kind of kick the whole thing off. And like Roger said, the reason we have to do the field, the track is deteriorating, which was kind of the beginning of the whole thing. And our window is about summer of 2018. And as soon as you start digging up a track or a football field, you're forced to go ADA compliant with the stands and bathrooms. So there's a lot of things. Mike Williams, I did talk to him the other night. He's going to help us kind of coordinate some initial data collection for funds, because they're familiar with the Shawsheen project that's going on right now. So there may or may not be any cost to the school to kind of pull those numbers together, so we actually have a legitimate starting point for all this stuff. So, and obviously we're trying to get as much of this stuff donated so that there's no detrimental cost out of the foundation or the money we're raising on the first donation project. So that's where we're at.
So it's really early in the process.
Yeah.
It's a really great idea, very appreciative, and we'll see where it goes. Hopefully it'll be successful over a bunch of years here.
Mr. Booton?
I applaud your efforts. This is a big undertaking, a lot of work,
Yeah.
and thank you very much.
Yeah.
They're looking for a coach here, right?
Can I nominate Mr. Espinola?
He's gonna nominate Mr. Tatseos.
I'm actually going to talk to you about that. I've been working on some donors and some people. I was just waiting to see when the whole redevelopment project was over. Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to have two projects. And that's kind of why we've held off, kind of waiting to get this big part done. And you can't get the funds on a redevelopment, because Roger and I talked about this. It's not something the state's going to pay for. So it has to either be private donations or it has to be private funds from alumni or whoever. I mean, there's some Facebook pages out there it's getting a lot of traction. People are becoming more and more aware of it. So, I told Roger I'm pretty confident I'm going to get the money for him. So there's a lot of different ways. I've spoke to people at different high schools and colleges, how they've done it. Once it basically gets taken care of, it basically pays for itself, the upkeep and everything, because everybody wants to play on it. You can do more than one. It's well, and the key to the whole field project is that it will suffice soccer, lacrosse, and football. So, and in the event that, Mark Byrne and I had a conversation this morning about this, that, in the event that baseball needs to do some field exercises, rather than going up on a grass field and doing it, we can bring them down to the turf. It's available. They can be practicing on it as well, just to do running drills and stuff like that, because, we may not want to rip up the baseball fields or the softball fields. It's multi-use. It'll have lights. There's a lot of benefit from that. It's also ready quicker than a turf field. Well, yeah, because your grass field totally gets destroyed by the end of the football season. It's when you're waiting for the melt of the snow. Correct. The turf field's already ready to go. Correct. Yeah. So it's definitely a lot of. I'll reach out to you and we'll get together on it. All right.
Okay, Mr. O'Hare.
Just one thing, a few years ago, they attempted to do something similar to this, but I think it was strictly lighting,
Yes.
temporary lighting or whatever, but when Mike McGovern was here, one of his assignments was to look into the alumni, and there was a book published with all the alumni, as many alumni as they could contact. So all those names and
I
address.
have 'em.
Oh, so you got that,
yeah.
but I thought that was a big,
Yeah, we have about 4,800 names.
all right, good.
Legitimate email addresses at work. The issue we have is we don't have an effective way to contact those people. Like we use MailChimp, for instance.
Yeah.
And MailChimp limits us to 800 emails a month. So we need a better way.
Yeah.
So if you partner with MailChimp or Constant Contact or somebody like that, there's money that, there's a monthly fee, and I think we looked into it once, it's like $2,700 a year to do that. But until we get some traction with some additional money, then we can't.
Yeah, the big thing, in addition to the book, was buy a brick. And that was, they bought bricks for the walkway into
Right.
the, but I think there's only about 15 or 16 bricks that were
Right.
put in
Yeah.
over a period of time. And that was going to be, again, for the lights,
Correct.
to rent lights so that they could test the waters and make sure that they could, a turf field would be acceptable. But I'll tell you, I've gone to various fields, even in this time of year. Baseball, softball is coming up. Chelmsford has 2 of those fields. And even with the snow on the ground, they were just practicing softball and, one in. You can do it, once the field is in, you can do just about any sport you can think of, really.
Once we complete this project, then we can do it, the phase 2 can be a turf field for the varsity baseball diamond and the varsity softball diamond.
Yeah, right.
That'll be phase 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's get through phase 1 first, right?
Yeah.
Good quality thinking.
Well, thank you.
So anyway, that's my report. Thank you very much, Butch.
Yep. See you later.
And that's my report, gentlemen. Thank you.
I'll delegate you some help with that.
Thanks for coming. Okay, report of our business manager, Ms. Turner.
Welcome.
Hello. So we have 4 updates. The first is the budget update. We recently had a finance subcommittee meeting on February 22nd. We presented the update on the status of the development of the budget. The second subcommittee meeting is on March 16th, and that will be at 4:30 p.m. We then have a public hearing and special school committee meeting where we'll review and approve the budget. That's scheduled for March 22nd at 6 p.m. The next update is that we have surplus equipment that we have to vote on. We just bought a new truck, and we now need to seek bids to sell the older Ford F-350. The school committee needs to vote to declare this surplus. The Kelly Blue Book value on this truck is $5,500 to $6,000.
So we replaced the 94 F-350 with a 2015 F-550. So it's a beautiful piece of equipment, plow, sander, the whole 9 yards. So now,
The other one was really falling.
that might be the Blue Book value. I don't know if I'd get
I was gonna say.
It's had some tough use.
500, I don't think.
But we do need to just access it, so.
Okay, motion to surplus the 1994 Ford F-350 truck by Mr. Booton, seconded by Mr. Morin.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Espinola?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Morin?
Yes.
Mr. Tatseos?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi? Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
And the next update is about a fuel adjustment that we received. In accordance with the district's agreement with the North Reading Transportation, when fuel prices drop, we get a credit. So we recently received a $20,463 credit. And the next update is our healthcare trust update. We recently voted, it was actually March 1st, to move to a self-funding status for FY17. The rate increase that they agreed upon that day was 6%. That's a significant increase to us. That's $370,000 in 1 year to our budget. And that's all of my updates.
Okay, question, Mr. Booton? Question, Mr. Morin?
Well, my question is a 6% increase to everybody that's on insurance?
No, to the districts. So whatever our total. health-
Everybody's premiums are gonna go up 6%. So the district pays 80% of the 6%. The employee right now pays 20% of the 6%. The health, we're part of the Bay
I
State Health
understand
Trust.
that.
So we voted against it because we have a tough budget year, right? So we got this 370, plus we got 800 and something thousand in salary increases. And we've got a very minimal Chapter 70 increase this year, right? Other districts saw their Chapter 70 go up more for various reasons, right? So so unfortunately, most of the people in our trust were not facing the budget difficulties we were. So what we asked them was to try and hold it at, well, first of all, we asked them to hold it off for a year. They weren't doing that. Secondly, we asked them if maybe, hold it to 5%. I thought we were gonna be 5%, and then when they actually took the vote, it was 6%. The reason that they wanna do it, and it's a good reason, is that Blue Cross, there's years, I guess, that Blue Cross has made $2 million on us when the claims come in low, right? So by being self-insured, Blue Cross just runs it. They charge us a fee for running it. We pay the claims out of our reserve account. They've been building the reserve up over many years, right? So the 6% is to get the reserve to the point, they say that you should have 3 months worth of claims in reserve if you're gonna self-fund. So that's to get us to the 3 months in claims so that they can self-fund, with the hope being that that's gonna grow significantly if we have low claims. We're gonna make the money that Blue Cross was making before. So the reason they wanna do this is because they feel that there's a lot of long-term benefit, but last year we went up 3%. Blue Cross had a 0% last year, but we went up 3% because they wanted to put the 3% in the reserve to keep building it up so that we could go self-funded. This year, they're within striking distance, and they wanted to go 6% to get them to the number so that they didn't have to wait another year to go self-funded. So my whole thing is, okay, we're part of the trust, we've got, we're doing this. I just want to know, when is the return on the investment coming, okay? It should be next year. If we make the profit that Blue Cross was making, if that holds true, then all of a sudden, that 3 months should be 5 months or 6 months or 7 months, and then we should have 0 increases for a bunch of years, or very low increases. We're gonna see how it plays out, but that's the theory behind it, is that they wanna go self-funded. We would have preferred it not to be this year, but we were outvoted by the trust, is what happened to us.
But how does that affect each individual? Their health insurance already is going up.
Right, so the
Going up 6%.
the $25,000 plan that we paid 80 and they paid 20 is now gonna go up 6%. And so whatever you're paying is gonna go up 6%. The district's share is gonna be 370,000, right? That's our share of the 6%. And everybody is, previously they were paying 20%. That 20% that they were paying is gonna go up 6% as well. Yeah, everybody's going up 6%. Health insurance in general is not going down anywhere.
I understand.
This is part of the consortium we're in, the Mass Bay
Yep.
Health Trust. Now, how many districts are in that?
We're in it
Trust.
along with Whittier Tech, Neshoba Tech, and Minuteman. Essex Tech used to be in it, and they got out of it this year because they merged with Essex Aggie. Essex Aggie was in the GIC. They were in this, North Shore Tech was in this group. So they had a big battle about which one they were gonna go to, but the enabling legislation said that they were all gonna be in the GIC. So they have gone to the GIC. My understanding is, in going to the GIC, they saved over $300,000 in converting. But it doesn't pay for a lot of, it's not GIC plans are not what we have.
Can we self-fund our own insurance?
Can we break
get
out of the,
yeah, can
we
break
can get out of the trust
and
if we
self-fund
get,
our own?
so what's in the reserve account? 3 point what million?
3.2 million is in the reserve for the
So
health.
3.2 million is in the reserve account. We represent about half of the trust because we're the biggest school. So about half of that money is ours. If we leave the trust, we have to leave it to them.
Yeah, we have to leave it.
So that's the downside. But we do always have the option. Now, in order to go out of the trust, we also have to negotiate it with the unions that they're willing to go out of the trust too. We could offer them the same policy but then in order for us to go self-insured, we would have to build up 2 million, right? Greater Lawrence just went self-insured. They had 2.3, I think, million in order for them to go. But they're all by themselves. Shashin's all by themselves, self-insured. So if we did go out, then we'd have to start, because we can't take our, it's in the trust bylaws, the money stays. So if we leave it, we then have to get the 2.5 million before we can go self-insured ourselves. So we'd just be offering the Blue Cross Blue Shield like we were doing before.
So we're always going to be in the trust because we have
If this-
$3.1 million,
We have-
unless the trust breaks.
We have some money invested in the trust.
Does anybody talk about the trust breaking?
No.
I'm gonna guess not. Now, can we, is there any proportion voting, based on the size?
That's not the way the
It's not the-
bylaws are
it's
set
Two
up.
management and two labor.
So I think what we need to hope for is that the projection is that if we could ever get to the point of going self-funded, that there will be a return on our investment, that we're gonna see a bunch of really good years, because as long as, there's reinsurance for big claims, right? That's part of this. But if Blue Cross and Blue Shield, supposedly there was a year that they made $2 million, right? There was a year that what we paid in premiums, the claims were low, they made 2 million, right? That 2 million would go into the reserve account. So now there's no need to give any, now there's no increases for a while, right? Tyngsboro, whatever trust they're in, I remember talking to Mike Gilberto, whatever trust they're in, they saw like 5 years that were fantastic. They had like no increases or a decrease or something. Theirs was working really well. So the hope is, not being self-funded, there's always going to be an increase to Blue Cross each year, right? You're always going to get, or they're at least going to try for one, right? So you're always going to get something, and it could be as much, some years it was 10 and 11%, if you have a bad year with claims, right? So hopefully, you have a few good years with claims, you build that up, you might have a bad year, it goes down a little, but the idea is that, we become Blue Cross Blue Shield in this, and overall, we're gonna have a return on this investment down the road that would be better than if we didn't do it.
That's what we're hoping.
That's what needs to happen, yeah.
But
That's what
we've
needs to
been told.
happen.
We don't necessarily.
So how does an
Question by Mr.
employee?
O'Hare.
Sorry, Mr. O'Hare.
Question by Mr. Moore, and then Mr. O'Hare.
So this extra 6%, does all the staff and employees get a memo or something that says your insurance is gonna increase by this?
Yeah.
Due to the Mass Health?
Yeah, that will go out. Well, there's one piece that I left out of this. Blue Cross was going up 2.5% anyway. They started at 5 and then they got whittled down to 2.5. So they were going up 2.5 anyway for next year. So we're going up 6, but we were gonna go up 2.5 anyway, right? Even if we didn't self-fund, we were going up 2.5. So it's just the difference from 2.5 to 6 that we're absorbing. We were getting the 2.5 anyway. But yes, at the appropriate time, this just got voted March 1st, right? This is brand new. So at the appropriate time, before the checks go, before the new year starts, it's effective July 1. The staff that's not listening to this broadcast will find out about it, that there was it's a little bit more minimal for them because they're only paying 20% of the premium. It's a little bit bigger chunk for us. It increased our deficit pretty significantly. But you know what? We'll figure out how to make it work and hope that there's some better days ahead and we get some return on this investment.
Well, the good news about this is that, as Roger said, we've been paying into, when we pay Blue Cross Blue Shield, they get the profit. Historically, we keep on showing year after year that our premiums, we pay more premiums than our claims, so we have very low claims. So if the trend continues, we're gonna start seeing the profit, and our reserves are gonna build so high that when we get a 2.5% increase because national prescription cost, laws are changing. So even when our claims are low and something else changes, it enforces us to go up, we can offset it and offer the 0%. We'll get the profit, we'll get the savings.
Mr. O'Hare, question?
I'm all set. Basically, when we went through all these.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Lemay, question to the superintendent?
To you, the superintendent, or Ms. Turner, the $370,000 total, I can see that that's in addition to the 3% increase from last year. Broken down, how much is that 3% in the 370? Is it somewhere a little over 100,000?
So we went up 3% last year and 6% this year, so it's 9% over 2 years, right? So if 6% is 370, then 3% would be half of that,
Yeah,
right?
like 180, 185.
So 370, 180,
185?
yeah, about,
550.
Which was last year, though.
which was last year's increase, right?
This current year, actually, right?
But the 3.5% that the consortium voted on realistically is about trying to save the district's money and decrease increases
Right.
as years progress.
It was the amount of money that the consultants were recommending that you have to have in reserve in order to go self-funded. So the question became, okay, do we do 3% more this year, and put some of it in, right? Well, we would have had to do 2.5 for Blue Cross anyway, right? So then you know, but do you do a little bit more and then, do you keep putting off going self-funded and do it a little bit each year, or do you just bite the bullet and do the full thing? I think what they felt was they had to do 2.5% anyway. If they do 6, we can go self-funded. Let's pull the trigger and go.
Do they feel like we'll be in that 3-month reserve area at the end of this year or at the end of next year?
We're there now.
We are.
Yeah, we're there now. That's what the 6%, it got us to the minimum that they recommended, that you have 3 months in reserves if you're gonna go self-funded. Otherwise, their recommendation would be just don't go self-funded, go with Blue Cross. You have to have this amount.
Right.
And that's where the
So the key is
6%.
to have as much in reserve as possible, and that gives us a more attractive rate, correct?
Yeah, so the key is that you have to have at least 3 months. The 6% got us to 3 months. And then you hope that the return on investment is that next year, if we save $1.5 or $2 million because we're self-funded, then that reserve goes from 3 months to 5 months to 6 months to 8 months to a year. And then if you do have a bad year, you've got the buffer, that your rate doesn't go up that year, right? So that's gonna be the return on investment. It's worked really well, being self-insured, I can say from Shashin's perspective, it's worked extremely well over there. I think Greater Lawrence just did it, for that same reason.
And what time of the year what time of the year is considered crucial as far as, I mean, we can't regulate the claims part of it. We don't know what the claims are, but at what what time of year is that looked at?
What do
They're-
you, monthly, we'll get a
Yeah,
claims
they're-
report on a monthly basis. We'll be the new insurance company, so,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
we've got claims data going way back, so as it comes in, the month ends, and then however long it takes, then they look at the claims for the month. So we're constantly getting the claims data for them. And then they look at the claims data and see whether or not there's plan design changes that might help to reduce the claims as well.
So it is looked at monthly by
Yes.
all parties.
By that Bay State Trust. The Bay State Trust has, half the members are management and half the members are teachers. So we have 2 members, Billie, Joe, and Kathy Tierney. The other 3 schools each have 2 management members, and then there's 2 members on the teaching side. Whenever the decision is made, they caucus separately. They make a decision, they come back to the group, and they tell them what their decision is. Unless both decisions are the same, if the managers say no and the teachers say yes, it doesn't fly, or vice versa. So it has to be, they caucus separately, but then it has to be, both groups have to agree to make the change in order for it to happen. And in this case, they caucus separately, they both feel that, this was within striking distance to go self-funded, and they decided that both groups voted to do it. Unfortunately, the other schools were in a much better position this particular year. Next year, we should be, we're gonna hopefully see a rise in enrollment next year. I think we're gonna be in a much better position. This year's just a tough year for us to be doing this, but we'll make it work.
Hey, Mr.
Thank you,
Tatseos,
Mr. Superintendent, and thank you, Ms. Turner.
hey, Mr. Tatseos?
In theory, is it possible, then, if we have several good years in a row, for the rate to go down?
You could, but I think the better idea would be allow that to keep growing, so that if, God forbid, you have one really bad year,
Right.
and let's say it depletes it by half, right? Just tremendously bad year, your rate still doesn't go up because you still got more than 3 months in reserve, right? That's the idea, is to get that as high as you can. But obviously, if it was growing really, really high, then you'd start looking at.
Or at least
decreasing.
maintain without increases?
I think the goal is that this works out, that we get a bunch of years of 0, or we might get, 3 or 4 years of 0, and then we get a year of 1% or 2%, or, you gotta monitor what the balance is and see how many months you have.
Right.
And the more months we have above 3, then the more sense it makes not to have an increase, and if we start to get below 3, then we may need the increase to bring us back up to 3
Right.
the next year.
Right.
Yeah, that's how it's gonna work.
But without being self-insured, the chances of the rate remaining the same or having small increases is minimal.
If we have good claims, Blue Cross reaps the benefit. Now, if we have good
Exactly.
claims, we reap the benefit.
Exactly, that's right.
And if we have a bad year and we have to increase to get to 3%, guess what? Blue Cross was going up anyway, because they gotta make up that money too,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So, it wasn't gonna be any worse than what this is gonna be.
Well, that's
So,
my
yeah.
point.
Yeah, Blue Cross loses, if they have a bad year and they lose on
They
us.
never lose.
No, the next year, we're gonna get an increase based on the loss they took the year before, so. So if we end up going below the 3% because of a bad year, then we're gonna have to replenish it, but Blue Cross was gonna make us do that anyway. So we're not losing anything. by-
And we don't have to make a profit. They
And
do.
here we've got the chance to be able to,
Right.
with some good years, we can maybe build this thing up that will be in really good shape, yeah. That's the hope. It's all about how long before the return on investment. That's what I keep asking.
And one question, as we build this up, this doesn't mean that Blue Cross will not keep increasing their
Right.
rates. It just means that the consortium has enough money where the base rate will not increase as well as the insurance rate.
Blue Cross is charging a fee to manage the claims. They're
Yeah.
just a vendor charging a fee to manage the claims. So they're just doing the bookwork of managing the claims for us.
But they did increase us 2.5% this year.
No, that was if we didn't go self-funded, we were gonna have to pay them we were paying a 2.5% to them to go not self-funded. By going to 6%, we weren't self-funded. That was the decision that had to, we're paying 2.5 anyway, and we weren't gonna be self-funded. That was their increase. But there's no increase from Blue Cross when we went self-funded. Now that we're just paying them the management fee for managing the paperwork of this. Yeah.
We'll still have something called stop-loss insurance. So we have to go out to bid, the trust will go out to bid. So if one employee ends up having over 100,000, if 100,000 is our threshold, then an insurance company will kick in so that the trust is not destroyed by high claims people. And what happens, just like with the fuel adjustment, if we have very low claims of, people going over this threshold, we'll end up getting rebate type things like the fuel
So
adjustment.
we go out and get reinsurance because we know that if, God forbid, there's a catastrophic claim, that it'll break the trust, right? So we have to buy as part of this reinsurance to make sure that we're insulated against that, right? That factor, so that we don't go in the tank.
Mr. Tatseos?
If we get to a point where the fund has accumulated enough, would we still have to buy that?
I think you'd always buy the it's just a really smart thing to do against a catastrophic claim. Yeah, or you could have multiple catastrophic claims in 1 year. You don't want to go, you could have, you could have 10 million in reserves, right? All of a sudden you have a couple of bad years with some real bad claims. So the reinsurance is part of the,
And the fee that we pay Blue Cross for managing this, is that negotiable or is that, or can they go up whenever they feel?
I'm not 100% sure, but my guess would be that it is negotiable because we could be paying Tufts to do it. We could be paying anybody to do it.
So that could-
So it's a competitive thing. If we don't think they're treating us fairly, we can get a similar plan and have it done by another organization.
In the
Yeah.
trust, we actually, part of that 6%, the reason it went from 5% to 6% is when they determined all of those administrative costs, like legal costs, the administration for Blue Cross, consultant fees, all of that, we definitely have we're being advised. So we're not there just making the decision as, business managers. There's lawyers that specialize in it and consultants, so.
It sounds like it's a good investment. It just seems like.
It's just
it's a high cost
I am
in a tough budget time.
I am 100% in favor of doing this. I just wish we weren't doing it this year because we just got a tough budget this year, that's all. And we've got no choice, so we're gonna do it.
Okay. Is that your complete report, Ms. Turner?
That was my complete report.
Okay, well, thank
Thank
you very
you.
much. Great work.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is old business. We have 3 items under old business. Seems like we can just move that right along.
Yeah, no, I did ask Chad to
Chad,
come, because
sorry.
you had said last time you wanted to get an update. I want Chad to give you 2 things. I want him to give you an update on the progress he's made with regards to the electronic admissions, and I also want him to give you an update on where we are with our admissions applications this year. So,
All
Chad?
right, great.
Okay, good evening. So first, under the old business, so Mr. Booton, you had a motion about our online application process. So since we last met, I spoke to the city of Lowell. They also use Aspen X2, which is the same student information system we use. Obviously, there are a lot, most of our students come from Lowell. So I had a discussion with them about putting a procedure in place where we could set up some programming between the two of us where we could gain interested applicants information that we now go and get from the schools. So when the student will apply to us, we'll then provide the names to Lowell with their Lowell ID number. That's the one thing they'll need to know. And if they don't, we can find it. We provide that to Lowell, and then Lowell will give us the information we need, their discipline, attendance, and grades. So
All electronically?
electronically, through a secure method. Yeah, through a secure method, that would be, because it is student data.
Right.
And, that's gonna obviously save a lot of time on their middle schools and their personnel, and it will also help us streamline the process as well.
Fantastic.
That's step one. We're gonna try it with some this year, just to, have
Oh,
a dry
really,
run.
this year?
Yep.
Good.
We're gonna pilot it just to work the bugs. I mean, we already have all the information on the kids,
Right.
but we're gonna pilot it just to make sure that next year when we go to do it, that it's working, right? To work the bugs out
Sure.
right now.
Yeah.
And we're also, I know I told you, or we told you last time that we were gonna do a fillable PDF that the kids could, but Chad's discovered a better way of doing it than PDF. So we're actually gonna,
We're gonna create something that's more user-friendly. The online PDF is a great step, it's a first step, but we realized after that it's really, it's a package, and we can do better by coming up with our own. So we're gonna be compiling our own fields and information.
so
things
rather
that
than
we
a
need.
PDF, they'll just go in and the boxes will be there, they'll fill it out.
Yeah.
So that's the ultimate goal. So
Yeah.
parents are going to put in more accurately the spelling of their names, phone numbers, email addresses. And
Yes.
typing is definitely better than penmanship
Yes,
as far as translation. So
definitely.
great.
Definitely.
Will that be in effect for next
For
year?
next year's, yep.
Both
Excellent.
these things will be in effect for next school year.
Okay, Mr. O'Hare.
Excellent.
Chad, are you gonna have to go to each of the middle schools, or are you gonna have a central base at the school
So-
office, head office, or whatever?
For Lowell, I won't need, if this all works the way we think.
Yeah.
The last piece is the guidance counselor's recommendation, but we can also create an online form that the counselor can fill out electronically. So the hope is that instead of going to, Tyngsboro does not use X2, so they use a different vendor. But the hope is that with Lowell, we won't need to go to pick up the information at all. There won't be any paper until,
You may have to go and get any handwritten ones that get turned into the guidance counselors.
well, of course, yep.
But you don't have, but the guidance counselors won't have to give us all of the report cards and everything that goes with that. They'll just take it from the kid, hey, here's your pile. And then we'll go in and then we'll give the list to Lowell Central.
Central.
And
So
they'll
the
give us the rest.
The school guidance counselor is gonna have the information.
The student could still give the application to the counselor, and then they would give it to us, but ultimately, central office in Lowell
Yeah.
has access to all the data we need. So
Okay.
I'll be working with them. Once I give them a list and say, these are the students that applied from Lowell, then they give us the information we need.
Okay, so you really don't have to deal with the middle schools, you're dealing strictly with the central office?
Correct, for this part, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot less work for the middle schools that we're putting together the packets of information for us.
Yeah.
They won't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And after we get them, we won't have to keyboard it in. It'll automatically get loaded in
Yeah.
for us. So it's a win-win as far as workload. It's using electronics to reduce our workloads.
Okay, question by Mr. Tatseos.
Is this only applicable to the students from Lowell?
Well, we're gonna start with Lowell since most of our students come from there. We'd have to work something else out with Tyngsboro because the system wouldn't speak to each other.
Yeah.
Dracut, we could, we're gonna start with Lowell for next year, but if all goes well,
The other three municipalities do not have X2, which is what we have. It just happens that we have X2 and Lowell has X2. So the data those two programs will talk to each other. The problem is if we get a download from, a school that uses Power School or some other, it doesn't necessarily talk to X2, right? They're not compatible. So that would be the thing that would have to get resolved. Now, when you look at how many applicants we process, the freshman class is going to be 70% Lowell students. So 70% of the applications will be able to be transferred this way. The remaining 30% would still have to key in and they'd still have to put the packets together. But the bulk of the work is going to be able to get done electronically when you look at the whole job that needs to be done. But we're not giving up. Well, let's get this going first, then we gotta see whether or not there's a way for those other, biographical, programs to talk to ours. We don't know, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not gonna be a
Okay.
disadvantage for a student from one of the other towns.
It'll actually be an advantage because the Lowell's gonna go so much faster, we'll key that 30% in like nothing, right? We were keying in 1,000 before, right, or 900, now we're only gonna be keying in 250,
Yeah.
right? So our keying, we'll get them keyed in, everything's gonna go faster because most of them are gonna get done electronically, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
And then the
Mr.
last,
Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Lemay?
With Chad there, I'm just wondering, do we have a total number of applicants from the city of Lowell?
so I don't have the breakdown from Lowell tonight, but what I do have to report is the amount of applications we have to date compared to last year. So it's important to mention that, we're in a declining enrollment trend right now, statewide, and then within our district, that this year, for the next 4 years, we're looking at, there's less students right now coming up the track, especially the 5th grade class this year is really low. So declining enrollment this year. At the same time last year, we had about 688 applications. As of today, we have close to, we have a gain of 70 applications. So we were happy.
Thank you.
So we're at 758 applications at this
Right
current
around,
time,
exactly.
roughly?
Wow.
That's good news considering that we're in a
that?
declining
How many were we
real
able
good
to
news.
enrollment time.
of that 688?
Last year?
Yeah.
Well, that was just, it grew to over, close to 900 at, as over the summer.
Just at
beginning of the
this
school
point in
year.
time, they're still coming in.
Yeah.
We were just really curious with all the work we've done this year. We wanted to see how many more students might have applied that wouldn't have before. And, we didn't know what to expect. And in a declining enrollment, to gain 70 additional students, that was huge.
With the declining enrollment, we would have been happy to break even,
Yeah.
right? Have the same numbers last year, not lose ground. But to increase in a declining
10%,
environment,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, to increase is
And,
really great.
we have a wait list right now, a lot of
I
freshmen.
raised
want-
that question, Mr. Superintendent, because based on the open house, we had numbers that I believe, or at least I was told, the highest in the last 10 years. So I was just wondering what we garnered for an increase.
Yeah, so that's it. Right now, we're up about 70, about a 10% increase over last year,
Okay,
at this point in time.
Yeah,
great
so-
news.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Fallon. Thanks for your report.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
You're welcome.
Can I ask at this time to have number 3 of old business removed from the agenda?
Okay,
Sounds good to me.
consider it gone.
Thank you.
Okay. We've already satisfied our new, we've already satisfied our new business, so we'll just move on to committeeman motion, so there are none of those. So a report of subcommittees, if we could have a motion to approve our February 11, 2016 Greater Lowell Technical High School Building Committee report. Motion by Mr. Tatseos, seconded by Mr. O'Hare. Roll call.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Espinola?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Morin?
Yes.
Mr. Tatseos? Mr. Gigi? Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Okay, there were no monthly change orders, so if we could have an approval of February 22nd, 2016 Finance Subcommittee report. Motion by Mr. Booton, second by Mr. Morin. Roll call.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Espinola?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Morin?
Yes.
Mr. Tatseos? Mr. Gigi? Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Okay, we could have a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Mr. O'Hare, second by Mr. Tatseos. Roll call.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Espinola?
Yes.
Mr. Booton?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Morin?
Yes.
Mr. Tatseos? Mr. Gigi? Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Lemay.
Thank you, Curtis.